Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special Level Up AI Summit series interview. I'm Rob Cupello. I'm excited to be coming live with one of our speakers you're going to be seeing on the stage at Level Up AI Summit on September 27. Kane Minkus. Kane, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me. We are super excited to be with you at the event. So
I should have said ciao, buongiorno, or buonasera. What is it? Buonasera there?
Sì. In Italiano adesso.
Yeah, I wonder, we should do it and we just let it translate. I've learned that in your class. We can get it to translate. So, well, Kane, thank you so much. I know you're just half of what people are going to be seeing on stage. You're going to be joined by your lovely wife on stage as well in Kelowna. Yeah. So we're excited to have both of you. So you're calling in from Italy today.
Yeah, we're in Sardinia for the summers. We just take our work and our kids with us, and we live here at our villa. So we're here right now. It's beautiful, beautiful weather, and I'm outside, and I'm happy to be here with you. So
awesome, love it. So I mentioned before we jumped on, I'm one of your students. So I'm going through the 12-week AI assisted entrepreneur sprint. I'm loving it, Kane. Like, I tell everyone about it. And my favorite part is I watch you teach and I'm learning to see the people's expressions on the face when you teach them something. They're like, oh my gosh, that's going to change my life. Like, and it happens like constantly. It's my favorite part. I don't know, it must get you excited when you hear that on the chat and stuff, but it's my favorite part when a light bulb goes off in someone's head and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, well, and you know, when we teach these tools, and what I'm going to be teaching at the Level Up conference, it's not just about pushing buttons. Right. It's not just about always just one more person just showing a tool that everybody could teach you. We've actually really decoded these tools into the mindset shifts and the concepts and the strategies to really get the most out of them. So the difference in what we're teaching and the reason we've attracted the attention of world leaders to go teach their teams and their companies is because we're really looking at the deeper level understanding of how AI works. And therefore, it starts to proliferate into more areas than just, you know, I see these people just say, oh, do this or hit that button or this is how it works. That's a little too mundane for our audiences. They want to know the deeper level concepts behind it. So that's how we teach it.
Fair enough. I'm excited to get you on stage and for people that are going to be there to hear about because it's amazing. So I can't wait. But I want to go back a little bit because I'm so interested in your background. So you were is it fair to say a struggling musician? Is that fair to say in your previous, or a musician?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was a record producer for Sony. I was struggling. So I mean, if we want to go way back, and I'll make it short, but the impetus for what I do now as an entrepreneur came from this love of music. So I grew up in a very conservative family. My father was a chief financial officer of Fortune 500 companies, and I was the third born. And I grew up in a very, traditional, you go to school, get your good grades, get your degrees, and, you go out and you work for a corporation as an executive and you work your way up. I was lover of music and I was going to be a musician and my dad was not going to have it. So we had a lot of turmoil early on, but I pursued it even against his interests, ended up becoming a record producer for Sony, went to top music schools and such. But I ended up working for Sony and I was in New York. I was working at the Hit Factory. I was working, with Mariah Carey and Jessica Simpson and, Ricky Martin, Celine Dion, and all these great artists at the time. But a new technology came out and it changed everything. And it was called digital audio workstations. And digital audio workstations were the first time we could do the things that human beings were doing in a digital setting faster, better, and cheaper. And when I saw that, I took it to my bosses at Sony at that time, and I said, we should implement this into the studios. It's going to make things more profitable. We're going to be more productive. It's going to get better results. And they laughed at me, and they were skeptical. They were resistant. They were doubtful. They didn't believe it was going to work. And I said, I think you're wrong. And I quit, which was a big deal working with all those celebrities at that time. My dad had felt like I finally got somewhere in the music industry. And I quit. And I moved out to Silicon Valley to start my first business based around this new technology. And the short of the story, there's a lot more in there, but the short of the story is we took that first company to top 5 in the world in 4 years. Wow. And we put everybody else essentially out of business that was doing that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And we ended up going on and creating, a couple dozen other companies with new technologies over the next 10 years.
So where did that passion or drive to teach others? Like, because that's one area that I'm fascinated by, because some people, when you discover something, you want to keep it for yourself and you're like, no, I'm giving it to the world. Like, I was telling Jason before, I think you had over 450 people on the class. Like, and this is just one of your 12-week sprints, right? So where did that passion come from teaching others?
Yeah, I mean, we teach about 300,000 entrepreneurs a year, and I've taught over 3 million over the last 17 years or 18 years of teaching. And so, it's an interesting dichotomy, because one of the things when you're actually, quite successful and you're actively in the game, the question is, how much do you share of your secret sauce?
Yeah, yeah.
And when I started my very first business, this technology business in Silicon Valley, which was based around music, I had a great coach, and he was just like, there's success for everybody. You're
Yeah.
never going to run out of success. There's always new businesses, always new products, always new ways to serve people. So the more you give, the more you support others, the more you serve, the more you'll get back. And he was absolutely right. And so the desire to teach really came inside of a light of, we help businesses grow, and then we invest in them. We're really an investment firm, and the more we can help and serve more people, first of all, it's fun, and we love. We had a lot of success really early on in life, and so we feel like it's a way to give back and it's a way to have fun, and we do find great investment deals and wonderful partners and colleagues and joint ventures that we do along the way all the time. So.
Interesting. Love it. So you've mentioned you've coached like thousands of people a year, 300,000 plus. And what are some of the common challenges that businesses or people you talk to are facing when it comes to sort of AI? And like, I know there's probably lots, we probably speak for hours on just that, but what are some of the threads you can tie there? Like, yeah, this is sort of what businesses in our market are facing when it comes to AI and the opportunity.
Yeah. So we actually, we've got lots of different courses in Sprint. We've launched over 83 products in the last 17 years of this company. And one of the current ones that are really hot right now is we're training people how to become AI consultants, because we're certifying them actually. There's no AI consulting course in the world, nothing like what we teach, and almost nothing exists. So we're certifying people in AI consulting. And so I actually have these conversations all day long, because we're training about 1,000 consultants in that program right now to go out and actually help others and serve others. Because one of the biggest challenges with AI is implementation.
Right.
Companies, in some major areas, I'll just give you a couple of little tidbits, and then we could talk all about this at the event. So a lot of people are overwhelmed. There are close to 15,000 AI tools on the marketplace, and people don't know where to start. They're overwhelmed. They don't have time to be digging through these things, testing everything, understanding how it works, learning all new technologies. So they're very overwhelmed, and that's slowing the implementation down, right? The second area is they don't actually really know what they can do with these things. They don't really know what's possible.
Right.
They're not even sure. They don't. They kind of hear things here and there. They see something on somebody's Instagram channel, and like, that's kind of cool. But they don't really understand how to get it implemented into their actual company. And then I'll say, kind of the third thing is it's a little bit scary to change everything. They've gotten into their groove. They know what they're doing. They've got their business happening or working, and they may want to grow, or they may even be struggling, or they may be grapes. It doesn't matter. Like, change can always feel a little bit trepidatious, a little bit concerning. And so between those three things, and there's a laundry list of others, but those three things alone are keeping it very low implementation and integration into people's businesses.
But there's and you hear a lot on AI, and it's the the buzzword, and everywhere you go you listen to it. But even from a small and medium sized business, Kane, like, how disruptive has it been, or how disruptive is it going to be? Like, and I think that's part of the area. I think that people, if someone's like, well, if I have a 2 or 3 person shop, it's not going to affect me. And I'm like, I think it's affecting every business. It doesn't matter what vertical you're in. And do you see that?
Absolutely. So I've been teaching transformational technologies for 2 decades. With this is what I've been teaching, is how to use advanced technologies to launch, grow, and scale companies. Right. We've been talking about AI since 2016 when it first came out. GPT-1 came out in 2016. A lot of people think this is relatively new. It's not. AI has been around for a long time.
Right.
It's been in hardware since the early 2000s. I've been in Silicon Valley for 25 years building businesses, so we've been seeing this, and it is every time it's been a little bit edged forward. It's been disruptive, and it's been incredibly disruptive. So to just answer your question directly, it is completely disrupting every type of business. Whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're a small business, or whether you're an enterprise, makes no difference. You are going to be completely disrupted. It is going to be a total game changer, probably for the next 10 to 20 years. We're just getting started at the beginning of it, which is why it's so important that people upskill themselves before it gets really complex. It's like the world of funnels, right? Entrepreneurs that didn't dive into funnels until 5 or 10 years after they had been around, they're like overwhelmed. They don't know how to use them. They got to spend a lot of money to have other people tell them how to use them. They feel, disempowered. But for those of us that started in funnels, immediately when we saw that disruptive technology, even though it was clunky at the beginning, we mastered it in the first couple of years. And then now we've just been building upon it and just continue to make, millions upon millions a month with those tools. And so that's where we're at with AI. So if they missed those windows, if they missed implementing digital marketing or digital technologies, or if they miss those, they need to not make that mistake again and get into it right now and start building on that future.
So how do some of the courses, like through the AI Assist Academy with your business, like how are some of those courses helping alleviate some of the stuff we just talked about? Like, what are some of the things that you do as people go through your courses so they can walk away and start implementing literally on the spot?
Yeah, so we've got a dozen courses I think that we've developed over the last year, all different ways and places. We've got a fundamental sprint that we call the AI assisted entrepreneur sprint. Doesn't matter whether people are business owners, entrepreneurs, they're entrepreneurial thinkers.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur, that's someone who's forward thinking, even if they're an executive or leader, or manager, employee, or business owner, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just a term. But the way we do it in that course is we break it into categories. We help them understand the fundamentals of how AI works. We help them understand the fundamental mind shifts. There's 24 different mind shifts humans have to go through to really understand how to work with AI. We take them through all that. We do show them how to push buttons and things as well and how to use the tools. We also show them how to apply everything. So it's not just theory. There's I did the Harvard course, the MIT course, Stanford course, things like that. It's just a lot of technology, theory, machine learning, natural. Okay, but we wanted to map it over to entrepreneurship. How do we make money with this? How do we make an impact? How do we get more free time? We've got 3 kids. We've got a life. We don't want to work all the time. Like, how do we continue to build our wealth and leverage technology? And so that's what the entire course is about, simplifying and applying it.
Interesting. I'm curious, you talk about the importance of personal development. I've watched some of your stuff and you talk about that. And I'm curious, how has AI influenced that side of it? Like how is Kane using AI on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's a great question. So my actual background was in entrepreneurship, but I was also working with coaches that were saying, you've got to evolve yourself. Your business is a reflection of you. And being in Silicon Valley, we were right in that crosshair between technology and human potential. So in my late teens, I actually started with, companies like Landmark Education and Hoffman and Avatar and NLP, neurolinguistics, things like that. And I was really studying human behavior and human thinking along at the same time of, business strategy.
Right.
So in fact, we actually teach a bit of that's why I say mindset. We teach a bit of an approach even through like neurolinguistics and language, because as you communicate with these AI tools, the more you understand about language and how to communicate in the language of influence, actually the better results you get out of the tools, because they're all developed and all created around natural language. So we do weave it all together. I mean, the way AI is impacting personal development, we're actually developing tools right now for coaches. We train coaches in how to be what we call next gen coaches. We show them how to use AI technologies to help them help their clients, how to give their clients an opportunity to engage with the tools, have a lot more resources 24/7 than having to only wait with working with humans. We're working on some virtual reality right now that's got AI involved to help recode the brain and put people into immersive experiences. So it's all over the place. I mean, every field's getting affected.
Interesting. Actually, it's funny because I think it was yesterday's class you had, little words that you can say, like you put in, that's cringe, and what it does. And I thought that was so funny. Or even I always thought that you're supposed to say good morning to it. And you're like, no, you treat it like, and I'm like, that's interesting. Cause I always was the one that typed this. I'm talking about ChatGPT. I'd be like, good morning. How are you today? Cause I thought you're supposed to, teach it or treat it like a human. And you're like, no, don't, just tell it what you want done. And I'm like, that's interesting. Okay. Mind shift there.
It's just a technology. Although they're designed to simulate human intelligence. So some people are falling a little bit into the trap of it, feeling like it's a human. It's not a human. It's a probability machine. It's technology. It really needs to be used in a certain way. And that's why we train people so that they don't, by themselves go off in these random directions. And if you ask ChatGPT, please, all the time, you're actually going to decrease its effectiveness. We've actually gotten to the point where we said, please do this. And it said, no, I don't want to. Right? Because we were training it in a way to actually, how it's going to respond to courtesy and things like that. But it's not a human. These are technologies. And of course, we go way past ChatGPT because there's text-based AI tools. There's image-based AI tools. There's video, there's actions, there's agents. And so all of these tools are based upon the foundation of, what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I think I was just saying before we jumped on the call, like some of the Chrome extensions, just even that, like every class I'm downloading a new Chrome extension you taught that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is changing my day. Like just little things like that are so much value. But I'm curious if we can just leave, and I know we don't want to give it all away, but what's one advice that you would want entrepreneurs to know when it comes to AI if they're just starting their journey? Let's start at the start of it. Like they're starting their company. They're it's a tough business. It's tough. But what's the one piece of advice you wish that they would know at the start of the journey?
Well, I hope this is not too general, but this is what I would say to them is I want you to treat AI as if it is a core essential tool for your company now. It's not an option. It's not a maybe. It's not something that's like, frosting on the cake.
Right.
It is a core essential fundamental, like, hey, we got to get our business license. We got to get our bank account and we got to get our AI tools. Like it's a core fundamental. In fact, so my oldest son is 15 years old. And he goes to this top private academy in Scandinavia, where kings and queens went all this. And a lot of the teachers are against AI in traditional academia. And although that's not a traditional school, and we're quite against traditional academia for that matter, but a lot of teachers are against AI. And I tell him, use AI liberally. I want to use it because it is the future. And it's a little bit like saying, I'm not going to use a calculator. Now, I don't want to get into a philosophical debate as to when we use tools and we don't. But in our family, it's our opinion at least, is that this is a core fundamental and he needs to start using it right now because the future of his career and his life and his businesses is going to be all completely engaged and interwoven with AI technologies. Right. So he's might as well be using it right now. And we train all of our kids from our 15-year-old to our 9-year-old, even down to our 5-year-old. We have them play around with it. ChatGPT, he asks it Paw Patrol questions, all sorts of things, just so that it starts weaving into the fabric of their lives. And I would highly recommend every person listening here start getting involved with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we look at the negative, right? I think maybe it's a human thing, but we're like, oh my gosh, these are going to take over our work. We're not going to have a job. And then to me, AI and education, I think we could have a whole discussion around that because I'm with you. Like they need to start teaching the kids how to use it, because that's what's going to happen when they come into the real world. But there's lots of institutions that are like, no, it's going to take away my job. And I'm like, well, use it to your advantage. Like you said, I don't know. No one uses, I used to have encyclopedias. Like no one uses encyclopedias anymore. Like imagine if we didn't change and we still had encyclopedias then, right? So I think
they'll teach them how to use a computer because it's essential, but they don't want to teach them AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the inflection point that we're at. But here's the deal. We've noticed in the last, let's say 20 years, all the technology, even more, 40 years, all the technology enhancements, when they come out, those that get in early always make a lot more money, impact, and have a lot more opportunity with it. So you can wait around, you can resist it, you can doubt it, you can do whatever you want. It's your life. But for those of us that have embraced it fast and we're moving it forward, we're tripling, quadrupling our opportunities, our audiences, our businesses, our revenue, our wealth. Like it is absolutely an opportunity right now. And so we as investors, we find where there's opportunities, we go there quick and we make the best of them early.
What's one, from a small business point of view, small medium-sized business, what's one AI tool that you're like, if you're not gonna do anything, at least use this? Is there one that's sort of foundational? And I know most people talk about ChatGPT. That's sort of what people tie, but they're like, in your class, I love that there's so much more out there, right? But is there one tool that you would recommend?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a bigger picture with ChatGPT. ChatGPT falls into a category called large language models. And the really interesting, although ChatGPT was first to the market, well marketed, well adopted, brilliant tool, works great, use it on a daily basis. It's actually, the bigger picture here is that large language models are becoming the foundation of essentially all technology. It's the ability to communicate with them. So if I had to give you like one interesting, really cool thing that everybody should be learning, whether you use Claude, Bing, Gemini, or MS Copilot, or ChatGPT, or whatever large language model you are attracted to use, one of the things you should be doing is modeling. So human beings have always been looking at best practices and saying, hey, I want that. I want to be able to do that. I want to have a fitter body, a happier life, more money, or, whatever, slimmer waistline or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So how did that person get that? We naturally model each other. In fact, we've done it since we were babies. But just as adults, we're often looking at people that have what we want and we're saying, how did they get there? How did they do that? And one of the things we'll actually show at the event is how you can model. Our audiences love this. It's always brilliant. It's a simple technique that they don't even realize can now be done on their laptops all day long to be able to have the best strategies, the world-class strategies right there for anything that they want. It can now get decoded to them step by step in their LLMs.
Interesting.
And so that would be a technique that I think every human being should use. I use it almost on a daily basis. We've remodeled our entire business around world best practices, of companies. When I, sit and talk with Richard Branson or Tony Robbins, I may be recording the conversation, and then I drop it into our LLM, and boom, I model out what decisions are they making, what thinking are they having, and it gives me a whole set of things. Oh, he's thinking about this, she's thinking about that, he's doing this, he's doing, and I go, oh, it kind of pulls back the curtain on the inner workings to success and human capability. That's something that humans can't do as fast
Right.
or as good as LLMs can. And so we use that all the time and teach our students that all the time.
You mentioned, I think, in one of your classes that you feel that every business should, and I might get this wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but every business should have their own large language model, customized to them. So how is that viable even for a small, medium-sized business? Is there a lot of costs to do that, or or not? Can it be implemented fairly easily?
So it's only viable for a small medium. It's viable for every individual, and there's different levels of it. So we talk about everything from on OpenAI systems. They have things called MyGPTs, where you can create customized GPTs, which are essentially data-trained LLMs trained with your data, your world, right? But then we can start to go up from there. Then we get into chatbots, right? And chatbots would be more like, Dante, Live Person,
right?
ManyChat, and these would be tools that essentially you train with your data, and they are using LLMs, right? And then you get into, clones, interactive clones, and you get into maybe more enterprise LLMs where the entire company has got their own data and their own LLMs internally. And the reality is, that's what I was saying, is that every single human being on the planet needs to start capturing their data and training their own LLMs. At the very least, you're going to be able to duplicate yourself and start to cut out all the conversations and all the decision making you typically have had to spend your day doing. And I'll leave you with this thought around that, which is a friend of mine is a top professor at Stanford, and we were having dinner when I was in Silicon Valley recently. And he said, Kane, everything that our kids, that we're teaching them is intelligence, that we're testing them. Everything we teach them, AI tools can do better, faster, and cheaper. Everything. So it's going to really, the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a huge awakening for humanity. What most people don't know is that although it's a lot of the talk of the town, only 2% of companies have actually properly implemented it, which is tiny. It's a fraction, right? Yeah. And so we really have not seen the impact. So it's very easy for humans to go, oh, there's a lot of noise, a lot of hype. Not really going to be a big deal. Look, it's not doing that much. No. There's the undertow of every company now learning about it, implementing it, changing their systems, and they don't go out screaming in the streets about it.
No.
They just go to their office. Yeah. And so every company that we go in and out of hundreds of companies privately. We have a whole consulting arm that goes in and consults, major enterprises and small businesses and everything. And then I've got all these entrepreneurs and leaders and managers and executives on these trainings, hundreds of thousands a year. They're all implementing it, and they're changing their workflows. And in about a year to 2 years max, we're going to see humanity totally change around what we're doing, where we're spending our time, and the speed at which we're able to produce things.
Interesting. With all this changing, and changes so fast, I subscribe to some AI newsletters, and literally every day there's something new. How do you stay up to date? How do you guys make sure that, because I know with your sprints, I love that you do, you're at 5.0, I believe now. So, because things are changing so fast. So how do you find time to consume all that information and learn and see what's new?
I never sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Is this actually Kane, or is this your AI robot and you're actually somewhere learning? Yeah, that's right.
So actually, probably about 2 years ago now, I hired 7 researchers to work with me. They work around the clock. They're in different time zones, and they are constantly researching, data mining, and testing, the thousands of tools. Right. And then we've got an internal news group at our company where they're feeding me the constant of what's changing, updating, needs to be seen, all that. And we are just consuming constantly. We've been doing this for 2 years. So on a daily basis, I spend probably about a good hour a day combing through our news group. We also are developing. So we're in the midst of developing. We understand what the limitations are, what's possible. We develop for ourselves. We got a 50-person development team. And then we're developing for companies, doctors, lawyers, surgeons, accountants, and all these. So we're just in the midst of it, in the heat of it all day long. And I like to think we catch everything. I'm sure we don't, but we certainly catch a whole heck of a lot, and then we pass it along to our students in a distilled form so that they can just focus on what's important to them. But there's funny stuff that happens on this. We prepare demos, the morning of the event. And then we'll get on to go to the demos, and I've got a couple of our researchers on there, and they'll be like, "Where'd the button go?" Yeah. And then oh, they just changed it at 2:00 this afternoon.
Well, it's funny because I think I see that in your class. I think Liddy, is that her name, Liddy?
Yeah, when these are
Yeah,
head-to-head
where
races.
you're like,
Yeah.
you guys are good about like, you'll be like, so is this still true in this version or not? Like, because things literally must change like they do, like constantly, right? So
Yeah, I'll say something, and then we call Liddy like the voice of God, because she'll come to him and be like, actually, that's not true anymore. As of Sunday at 11 p.m. This, I was like,
yeah,
So, but I
that's
think
funny.
everybody takes it in good stride, because we understand a fast-moving tech environment has lots of change.
Can you've seen a lot, been through a lot when it comes to both the human behavior side, technology, AI, everything that's happening. Like, what are you most excited about though? Like, because I love, you got a lot of excitement when you're teaching your class and like you enjoy what you do. But what are you most excited about for the future of what you're working on?
Well, I've got a whole story that I'll share in Kelowna when we're there for the event. I don't want to take up the time today, but we're
Yeah.
very passionate about education and
Mm,
providing a future, we call it like next gen education. And we've been working for the last year. I've been investing. We're up to 14 different AI companies.
wow.
Our investment plans to hit 100 by probably not by the end of this year, but in the next 12 months. And we are really investing quite a bit in companies that can support education growth and business growth. And so, what I'm very excited about is I'm very anti-traditional education.
Right.
Sorry if anybody is against that, but my opinion.
Yeah.
And I didn't do very well in traditional school, but I was very, I felt very bad about myself around that until I got in the real world and
Right.
realized that actually I just had different preferences, different ways of going about things. I needed something different. So we are very vested in creating personalized learning environments, and we would love to revolutionize education. Many of my friends have tried it: Peter Thiel, Bill Gates, things like that, Mark Zuckerberg. But it hasn't really been the right time, or I think the right tools. And I'm excited to think that we could be at a time and a precipice where we can redesign education for all humanity and help people learn and educate themselves. Having the power to have these super brains and have people work with them now is incredible in itself. And we're designing a lot of interactive learning environments, immersive learning environments that are using AI that I think will just completely allow all people across the world to learn at light speeds. And that's exciting for me.
Love it. So, Kane, last, let's leave the people with what can they expect from you on stage? You and Alyssa on stage. What are they going to learn? They come to when they come to this conference, September 27th, and see you. What's the hour and a half together going to be like?
Yeah, well, you can expect to see someone more beautiful than me next to me. I do that a lot. This is beautiful, super smart, intelligent, amazing wife, who's actually Italian. That's why we live in Italy for
Yeah.
the summer. But she'll be there, so you'll get a nice perspective. She's also European, so we often talk about how AI is getting implemented across the
Right.
world and things like that. And we're also very passionate about discussing how to open up the whole world using AI. As you mentioned at the beginning here, we could just use some AI for translation. And in fact, that's a big deal for us, is actually utilizing technology to go across the whole world. So we'll talk about those things. But I think what to expect a fire hose of powerful information, all sorts of cool techniques and application. You're gonna be breaking your hand, taking notes. Your jaw's gonna be on the floor. Maybe some things you will have heard of or seen before. Lots of things you won't. And we'll try to make it we'll make it as up to date and relevant and cool as possible. So that's what they can expect.
Love it. Well, Kane, thank you so much for taking time out of your Italian day today to visit us or to join some or spend some time with us. I'm excited to show you Kelowna because you haven't been to Kelowna before, have you?
Yeah. We've had offices in Vancouver actually
Okay.
half my professional life, so I've been up to Vancouver a lot. We had most of our staff in Toronto for years. I've just never been to Kelowna, but it's absolutely gorgeous in that part of the world. So I'm excited to come.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you up here. So, everyone is going to be coming to the event September 27th. Kane and Alyssa will be on stage. You got a glimpse of what he's going to be talking about, and it's amazing. There's a lot more there, trust me. So, thank you again for joining us today, and look forward in a few weeks to see you on stage.
We can't wait. We're looking forward to it. In fact, we are actually going to Zurich, Stockholm, and South Africa, Cape Town for some massive stadium events on this topic, and then Colombia and Mexico, and then to you guys. So we're going to compare the audiences and see if the Canadian audiences are bringing that energy. And
Love it.
Compete with that gorgeousness. I'm excited to see it all.
Awesome. Kane, thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.